Kia naina, ako koi ke kakahiaka no ke aha. Aloha. Thank you for being here this morning for the first plenary speech for the conference. And it's an honor and privilege to be a part of this. Mahalo to all the conference organizers for inviting me to be a part of this, especially since we're right here on the sands of our place in Hawaiian. So the presentation today that I will be presenting is a brief overview in 25 minutes of a very important philosophy, a Hawaiian philosophy for education. As we all know, the child from even before inception in the family, as the family is coming together as a unit in anticipation of having the next generation of people, is already setting the stage for what we need to be a part of, a very vital part of. So as we focus on this child here in Hawaii, we are concerned about the loss of something very, very important. And I know all of you from all 80 plus countries throughout the world who have gathered here for the World Forum understand this in your own place. That is the flame, as I am going to associate this spirit of life that makes each one of us where we come from unique to our place. So too in Hawaii. The way we live our life, the way we see the world is unique unto us because we have come down from the generations, from our ancestors, from time immemorial, with our values, our cultural values, our way of seeing things, our way of communicating things, our way of behaving, and we do this in a very essential element that we often take for granted, which is called language. Language communicates this from one generation to the next, whether it be oral, written, or however we do it with modern technology, etc., etc. And so language, as we know, is very, very crucial. Our own language, because our own language captures what we are best. When we lose that, then we become part of somebody else's world. And so here in Hawaii, and as our scientists, linguists tell us, throughout the world there is a great concern on language death throughout the world, especially as affecting indigenous peoples throughout the world. We are especially susceptible to this endangerment, this language shift into bigger world languages. And when we do that, our child, the seed of our culture, is lost to the greater world. So here in Hawaii, we have taken this upon ourselves. I will try and give you a brief background to this effort from a very, very small start. And we are still very small. But at least we have started something that I hope that we could share with others that who are in this similar situation, that can learn from some of the work that we've been doing here in Hawaii for the past 30 plus years. So linguists say the first thing of a person, of a people that is lost is language. What survives and lingers longer are things like our dances, our songs, our food, our costumes, our clothing. They call it costumes after a while because we don't wear these traditional clothing all the time. We just put them on for certain occasions. But our language seems to be something that we're not conscious of, that we're losing, because inside of our hearts and our guts we say, no, I am still Hawaiian. I am still native to my place, yes. But when you say it in someone else's language, when you are educated in someone else's language, when you are raised and participate in society in somebody else's language, then you are doing this communication for the next generation in someone else's language, and you are shifting into what linguists call a language loss or extinction. So here in Hawaii, for example, we last night, I think most of you had our beautiful dinner we had here, and on the menu we had Hawaiian food, what we call Hawaiian food. The only real Hawaiian food that was on that buffet was the poi, that I heard you say, oh, looks like paste, you know, the purple colored one, yeah. But we also had something called lomi salmon. Maybe some of the people introduced you to that. Also, we had chicken long rice. Now, these two dishes, for example, none of those ingredients are native to Hawaii. We had no tomatoes. For example, in the lomi salmon, there's tomatoes, green onions, and salt salmon. Those are the major ingredients. What makes it Hawaiian is the way we put it together. We also did not have long rice. That comes from China. We did have chickens. We did have chickens in Hawaii. And let's see, we had mushrooms in them. I think dried shiitake mushrooms, and I think some green onions. But the way we put that together then becomes Hawaiian. So our Hawaiian essence, or the flame that was burning at the time we put together salt salmon, tomatoes, and green onions, was still strong. So we could combine this to make it Hawaiian. When we heard Kimo Hasi playing the ukulele and his explanation of how it got here from Portugal, and how it's become like a symbol of Hawaii, this instrument of music to represent our Hawaiian music, is because the way we play it makes it Hawaiian. The songs that we play on it, but the way we play it becomes Hawaiian. Now, what has happened to that? That is what we're afraid of. How do we continue embracing the world and extending ourselves as Hawaiians into this current time and still make what we engage Hawaiian and make it our way? We have to maintain that foundation. And for us in Hawaii, the language, the first thing to go, this unique item called language, each unto its own people, is the first to vanish. And that is the thing that communicates everything that is important to us. It encodes how we think, how we view the world. It encodes our values, what is right, what is wrong, and how we see things for the future, and how we make the future, the present and the future become still Hawaiian, even though we do not have tomatoes, green onions, and salmon in Hawaii. Anyway, so let me begin this. May I see the first slide, please? Oh, sorry, this is not the first slide. There it is. The topic, as written in your programs, is the essence of the Hawaiian identity, nurturing the essential elements of this fire that I spoke of earlier in Hawaiian medium education. So 30 years ago or so, we began this effort to revitalize our language, and that was about in the 70s and 80s. And I think some of you throughout the world are counting the number of native speakers of your indigenous people, speakers, first language speakers of your languages left. And there, in the 70s here in Hawaii, we counted maybe about 2,500. And they were basically all older people, our elders. And as we moved into the new millennium, now 2011, we count maybe 60 left. We have an island called Niihau, and that community about 250 people. Most of them now, they are all native speakers in their isolated domain, have remained speakers of our language from that connection, as we call it, to our first human ancestor, Haloa, down till today. But that connection is also being quickly severed because they're moved off their island and onto the neighboring island into mainstream Hawaii. As you see it right here in Waikiki, because Waikiki is our major industry of tourism. So the tourist industry does its best. I think if you experience the greeting in Hawaiian at our airport, we have a very limited home television program in Hawaiian. We have a few radio programs in Hawaiian, very limited. But we are working on all of this. Thank goodness we still have our place names, our street names, and other things that we're still communicating using our Hawaiian language. But the essence has to begin, as we all know, language starts at home, and if it's not at home with the children when they're born, we need to create those environments for them. And so this is what we're all familiar with, this environment called early childhood care, okay? At the toddler age or at the preschool age and continuing, because it needs to be nurtured as much as possible. So with these, the essence of our identity in 1981, and let me move to the next slide here. These are really heroes, and people don't really know, and you're kind of our own people don't even know about this. But we need to talk about this more. And I'm not necessarily just looking at these two parents and their children as, because at the time, we didn't even think they would be heroes. But they just decided, just because they're a second language, as you can see in the photo, the father is not ethnically Hawaiian, but the mother is. And both of them learned the language as second language learners. So as we say, in linguistics, L2, second language learners. And they decided to bring up their first child, their son, Hulilau, only in Hawaiian at home. Then their second child, as you can see in the photo below, is their daughter, born in 83. So 81 and 83. This is the first family of second language second language parents to bring up their children as first language speakers of the language. Now, just at this time, in 1983, we started a program called the Punana Leo, or the Language Nest. The name comes right off of the Maori name, Kohangareo, in New Zealand, which is language nest. We are cousins. As Polynesians, we're related. We knew very much, we're very close to the Dr. Tamati Reedy, who earned 2 of his degrees at the University at Manoa. At the time, he earned them in linguistics. And when he came back to talk to us in 1982, as the director of the Maori Language Affairs Office, he presented this great thing that was taking over in his country called the Kohangareo. We heard that word, we said this is the perfect meaning of what we needed to do, which is because we were coining a new word for native speaker. In our language, in Hawaiian, we have no word for native speaker because everyone spoke Hawaiian. So there's no need to create a word for native speaker, but definitely we need one now. So at the time, when we feed, humans do this. Most animals do this, I think, but the birds especially, when they feed their infant, their babies, they feed them through their mouths. They kind of chew up the food, make it soft, because we didn't have baby food back then, and put it right into the mouth of the baby. That's what we did too, as humans. But instead of putting it into the mouth, we would put it into the ear. And that would be the language. And so that is a new word for a native speaker. Mana. Mana is a mouthful of food. Leo is voice. So instead of saying a mouthful of food, we said a mouthful of language fed into the ear, and that would become the word for native speaker. So we took on that name, and we didn't go to see a Kohangareo in New Zealand until 6 years in 1998. 6 years later, went to visit and saw for ourselves. But it's a simple concept. It's not something that we were doubtful of. We knew that if you spoke to the child in his or her language from birth, even in the mama's belly there, they would pick it up. They would be sponges and just soak it up like any other native speaker. But to have that opportunity in someone's private home was not something we could do then. So we created this nest that we call sometimes preschools or infant toddler care centers, or whatever term we use. In Hawaii is punana leo. Now, our philosophy is based on very Hawaiian concepts. Language is not just about verbs and nouns, right? Language is connected to a people, the way we live, the way we think, our culture, our values. So we use the word piko. That's a bit small there, but you can see the word piko. Piko is the umbilicus, literally. And so in Hawaiian, we have 3 places on our body, on our person, that is our piko. Beginning first at the top of our head here, which we consider very sacred. The very top is the piko. And then this area connects us to our spirituality, our values, our godly creations, our beliefs in things that we cannot really touch and see, but we know that exists. And then the next piko is on our belly button. We all know that one. And that umbilicus, or piko, connects us to our genealogy, where we come from the beginning of time, to our mother and father, to our grandparents, to our aunts and uncles. When we come as a child, because we're children at one time, into this world, that is already there for us, that piko. And then the third piko is just below the belly button, which is the procreation, where we need to continue. We need to live on, where we need to create lomi salmon, when we need to take the salmon, the tomatoes and green onions and put them together and make them still continue as something identifiably Hawaiian. And so we have these 3 piko in from our elders, from our kupuna, as a connection to all of these understandings. And then, let's see. And then from the piko, we come to honua or ieve. Ieve is literally placenta. Honua is also another word for placenta. So you see there the first, that mother, very pregnant, number 1 up there, has her baby in her womb. And that there is one of the honua, or places. Honua and ieve also reflects place, a place. So that place in the mother's womb is already the beginnings. In fact, as I said earlier, before she even becomes pregnant, the place is being set, the stage is being set for this child. And then when the baby is born, number 2, the child is put into what we all experience, coming out of the womb, into the home, into society, and how we are affected in our own homes, in our society. We have a picture here of one of our Punana Leo schools. Teacher is speaking entirely in Hawaiian. The children are about 2.5, 3 years old, exposed only to the language and to the connections that the language bring with it, which is our culture, the essence of who we are. And then the third, kipuka, as you see with our sailing, double-hull sailing voyaging canoe, sends us off into the wider world. So this location of embracing the wider world. So we have, say, many proverbs. The one proverb comes to mind now is, He lani ko luna, he honua ko lalo. We have the cosmos above us, the sky, and then we have the earth below us. So no matter where we go, we will have both environments, but we are still grounded, we still know who we are, no matter where we go. That is the essence of that proverb. He lani ko luna, he honua ko lalo. I'm trying to move there we go. And now we come to these, oops, it went twice. Now we come to the four major elements of what we consider very important, and I think this is universal, could be, which is the spirituality that I talked about earlier, our values of right and wrong. And then also our olelo, or our language. We all speak a language as human beings, as animals of this world. And thirdly, we have a behavior, a way of being. When I go to airports, for example, shopping centers, people, you watch people, their behavior gives them their identity. Not only as a culture, but also the way they are raised. You see a lot in behavior. And that is something that is very unconscious. It is something that you grew up with. The essence of behavior, the essence of language, the essence of your spirituality, and also the fourth thing, which is traditional knowledge. That is something handed down from generation to generation. So these four elements connected to our picos, our three pico, or primary points, and then the three places, locations, on how we affect these things in our honua, in our places, all combined together to a main aspect of who we are, which is our language, to conduct as the medium of all of this information is the crucial part. It's the very crucial part that we in Hawaii are revitalizing. The word is revitalization of our language, but it's just not language, as we know. It's a whole being. And that we will want to see this continue. We see some successes, and we have a far way to go. We have figures, some people say we have maybe 10,000 speakers now. Some people claim we have even more than that, but out of a population of about 450,000 ethnic Hawaiian people, we have a far way to go. And hopefully this will give you some inspiration. Wherever you are in your place in the world, and wherever you are with your essence, your identity, and your language that needs to conduct this for the next generations to come. Hopefully that we can share something with all of you, which is that the Hawaiian medium education offers a new paradigm to education, especially for people who struggle to maintain their ties to being Hawaiian. In order to accomplish the noble goals of a viable education, it is crucial to embrace and extend the cultural essence of a child from the earliest years of formal learning. Mahalo for this time, for having this first opportunity to present my thoughts to you at this conference. Aloha.